What are we discussing on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast? How the Dbacks wasted the 2-home run night from Corbin Carroll, and if Corbin Burnes can step up as the Dbacks ace in the pitching duel in the rubber match tomorrow.
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, multimedia journalist and a graphic designer. So please go check out my website, MillardThomas24.myportfolio.com. I'm there. You can see my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. On today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, we're going to be discussing the D-backs losing in extra innings, wasting that Corbin Carroll monster game. We'll talk about which franchise would you rather root for the next 5 years, D-backs or Rays, and then we'll wrap the podcast by discussing and previewing the pitching duel, Corbin Burnes versus Drew Rasmussen of the Tampa Bay Rays. So we got a jam-packed pod as always for you guys, but first I want to say thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. One of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube. We have been going live Sunday through Thursday after the D-backs game. So please follow me, Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube. Hit that little bell so you know when I go live. Or you can follow me on social media at CareerThomas24 for my personal account. Or look up Locked on Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handle, because I do tweet out before I go live. So follow me on the socials and follow me on YouTube. But now let's get into the podcast. All right, let's discuss D-backs lose game 2 to Tampa Bay. They lose in extra innings, and this could have been a really good D-backs game where we see the resilience, the comeback kids from the D-backs, a great Erod start, a monster Corbin Carroll game. Like, this could have been a game that had kind of everything we love from the Arizona Diamondbacks. But instead, it's a game that leaves a bad taste in our mouth, and we're going to remember all the flaws of the D-backs team and how they showed up tonight. Because I want to start with the heroics of Carroll and Erod. But because the D-backs lost, I feel like we have to start with the negatives from the game. Because as bad as the D-backs were with runners in scoring position, because they were absolutely horrendous tonight, I'm not going to absolve them at all in that situation. But I think the bullpen, when I'm doing the blame chart, situational hitting number 2, I think the bullpen for me is going to be number 1, because I look at a guy like Shelby Miller, came into tonight's outing, hasn't allowed an earned run all season. And guess what? After tonight's outing, ERA still 0, because unfortunately that hit he gave up, that score 2 for Tampa, went against Erod. And I will say, in that situation, I was not upset at all that Torey Lovullo pulled Erod in that situation. It felt like it was probably time. Maybe he should have even been pulled a little bit longer, or been pulled a little bit earlier. Maybe he shouldn't have gone out there for the 7th. But regardless, I was fine with how Torey set it up. Brought in Shelby Miller, who is, arguably your second best reliever after Justin Martinez. Hasn't allowed a run all season. So I was behind Torey Lovullo's decision-making in that moment, and it just didn't work out. And that was unfortunate for Erod, because to pitch into the 7th with the 2 earned runs, and then you leave, you look up at your ERA, and it ballooned because Shelby Miller came in and gave up a hit that, of course, when you put runners on, it goes against your ERA. So sad there for Erod, because I actually thought he had a really good start. Then Ryan Thompson, he comes in later in the game. He allows an earned run and then loads the bases with nobody on. Somehow, the earned run before loading the bases with no outs is the only damage he allows. So he walks a tightrope, he escapes, but it wasn't a good outing by Ryan Thompson. Yes, you escape, bases loaded, nobody out, but you already gave up a run and you put yourself in that situation, buddy. And then Dre Jameson, someone that we all love, someone that we all think is super talented, high velocity arm. Like, he came out today, second outing, I believe, of the season, and trouble locating, throwing strikes, giving up a ton of hits. Like, it wasn't a good outing for him either. And the bullpen just did not do their job today. I've been impressed with the bullpen most of the season. I said, even if we lose AJ Puck, I still like this D-backs bullpen because of guys like Juan Murillo, who had a really good outing for the D-backs today. But the rest of the guys who have been fantastic all season, Shelby Miller, Shelby Miller, Ryan Thompson, not Justin Martinez. He was good today. We actually got to see Justin Martinez back for the D-backs. He looked fine. But Thompson, Dre Jameson, Shelby Miller, the bullpen just not good enough today. And then we could talk about the situational hitting because I don't want to absolve them from blame at all. 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position. And when Perdomo came up to the plate, I was confident in Geraldo Perdomo in that final at bat. I've been talking all season like how he's the love child of Luis Arias and Juan Soto. When you look at the plate discipline numbers for Perdomo, but he's starting to come back to earth a little bit. 1 for his last 18, and when you see that ground ball double play with 1 out, like in my head going into that at bat, I was like, we're at least gonna have a tie game here. I was like, Perdomo's like led the league in sacrifice hits the last like 3 or 4 years. There's no way he doesn't, with how good he is at play discipline, at least drives the ball to right field and ties up the game. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And the Perdomo at bat was probably the only time all game with runners in scoring position where I felt like it was kind of egregious we didn't score. It was the only like, come on, how did you not score there moment? Because you go through the rest, even though it was 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position, it wasn't like there was a lot of man on third, 1 out or less. Like it was like 2 outs and a man on second a lot of times. Like it wasn't easy opportunities. Yes, you still would have liked the D-backs to come through a little bit more in their situational hitting, but I don't think there was a lot of egregious moments throughout the game with the lineup. You still had 9 hits and 6 runs total. That's why when I look at the game overall, I put more blame on the bullpen than on the offense. And before we wrap up segment number 1, we got to get to some positives. We got to talk about the Corbin Carroll monster 2-run performance. I was hoping he got a walk-off late in the game to really hit the nail on the head of how great of a start to the season it's been for him. He now leads the NL in home runs, tied for the second most home runs through the D-backs first 24 games in franchise history with 9 home runs. He's tied with a few other players, Steve Finley, Mark Reynolds, Reggie Jackson, Kelly Johnson. All those guys had 9 home runs for the first 24 games. Was sad to see none of them had like a 45, 50 home run season. The best one, after looking it up, was Steve Finley. He had 35 home runs in 2000 after hitting 9 in his first 24. And we've seen Corbin Carroll get close to that before. I do believe Corbin Carroll is probably going to hit right around 35. Like that was our big prediction entering the season. Carroll at 35 home runs. So right on pace to do that after another two home run performance today. And they were monster home runs. 107.8 miles per hour off the bat, 106.7 off the bat. One of them 430 feet, the other one 419 feet. Like just 2 absolute nuke shots by Corbin Carroll. And then Erod didn't have the swing and miss tonight, but just I thought it was another great start of challenging hitters with his fastball, dancing around trouble. And it's like I just wish the bullpen helped him out tonight because the way Fott and Erod have been pitching in the back end of the D-backs rotation, like I'm the most confident in those 2 guys right now. D-backs use a lot of their relievers tonight, which is definitely going to hurt them in the rubber match tomorrow because we got the ace on the mound for the Tampa Bay Rays and Drew Rasmussen, who has been shut down all season. We'll talk more about him in segment number 3, but the D-backs do have their own ace going as well, right, in Corbin Burns. So we'll discuss all that, preview it all in segment number 3. But next, I want to talk to you guys about which team's future you would rather have between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Arizona Diamondbacks in segment number 2. But hey, I first want to talk to you guys about prize picks because basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up. There's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with prize picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. With prize picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Give me Luka Doncic more than 28 points, LeBron more than 22 points, and Austin Reeves more than 18. When it hits, it brings a big smile to my face. And if you want a big smile on your face, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize picks, run your game. All right, back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. And before we preview tomorrow's rubber match, let's do a fun exercise and discuss which team's future you would rather have between the D-backs and Tampa Bay Rays, because I want to do this topic because the Rays and D-backs, as whenever I do a crossover with Locked on Rays, he always likes to bring up that we're the expansion brothers. D-backs and Rays started the same year, same expansion season, and I believe after the Rays win today, they're actually tied all time in wins. Both of them have the same exact amount of wins as a franchise, and so a lot of parallels between these two teams, starting and joining the MLB the same year, same amount of franchise wins. Both have a World Series appearance the last 5 years, so you can even point to some recent success for both of these newer franchises. Both of them have stadium issues. D-backs, not as much as Tampa Bay, but they both have like a looming cloud hanging over them when it comes to their stadium. And one other sad thing is both franchises really don't have like any homegrown Hall of Famers or like legends of the game that are easily identifiable with their franchise. Like D-backs have Randy, Gonzo, Kurt Schilling, and like Randy and Gonzo might be identifiable to the D-backs, but it's like they also had such, Randy had a whole career prior to the D-backs. Gonzo was like over 30 when he signed with Arizona. So it's like those guys can be claimed by other teams as well. A guy like Paul Goldschmidt, he has a chance to make it to the Hall of Fame. He feels like an Arizona Diamondback, but when you look at his baseball reference, 8 years with the D-backs, 6 years with St. Louis. Like he's going to spend as much time outside of Arizona as he did with the D-backs, which is really sad to see. Evan Longoria, he was a legend in the game for the Rays. Maybe not Hall of Famer, but Hall of Very Good. But even him, by the time he was 32, he was on the San Francisco Giants. So it's like when you think about all the great players for both of these franchises, a lot of those players have spent time with other teams. And so bottom line, both of these franchises historically are kind of in the same spot right now. You can even say both of these teams play in the 2 toughest divisions in Major League Baseball. Of course, the D-backs in the NL West going against the Padres, the Dodgers, the Giants. Look at the Tampa Bay Rays in the AL East, Red Sox, Yankees, Blue Jays, Orioles. Like both of these franchises are in tough divisions, kind of in the same place historically. And so I want to know, when thinking about both of these teams, who would you rather be? Who would you rather root for the next 5 years? Because I believe, and listen, you can always drop in the YouTube comment section if you disagree, but I think it's clearly the Arizona Diamondbacks. Despite all the parallels I just laid out, I think you clearly would rather be Arizona for the next few years going forward instead of the Tampa Bay Rays. The D-backs currently are doing something we never have seen the Rays do in their franchise history, which is lock down their franchise stars. Typically, the Rays, they like to trade their pieces before they get too expensive, before it's time to pay them their big fat contract. Tampa Bay likes to sell them off. The David Price, the Blake Snell, the Randy Rosarenas. Like, you think of the franchise player for Tampa Bay, and typically they let them go instead of paying them. Obviously, the Rays had one guy that they chose to pay, and then he got in some trouble, so we won't talk about him on this podcast. But that's kind of like the one time that they did the model of, let's go in early on our guy that we think is a franchise building block, and let's sign him to a long-term deal. And outside of that guy, the Rays really haven't done it a ton in their franchise history. Meanwhile, the Dbacks are locking up core pieces left and right. We locked up Fott this winter, and Justin Martinez, and Geraldo Perdomo, and we got Corbin Burnes and Erod under contract, and we renegotiated with Ketel Marte. Like, the D-backs are making sure the people that they believe in, who are young, who are a little bit older, whatever it is, if they think you're a D-backs guy, someone that they want to build around, they're locking you up and they're keeping you around, which I think is so smart. Get ahead of the curve. Don't let these guys hit free agency and see what they're worth, because that is when they're even more expensive. Rays also never spend money on free agents either. So even if the D-backs aren't locking up their core franchise guys, or despite the D-backs also locking up their franchise guys that are homegrown, the D-backs are also going out there and still signing players like Corbin Burnes. The Rays have never spent money on a guy like Corbin Burnes, $35 million a year. The Rays would never. So on paper, the D-backs currently have the more talented team. And also, it's not that they have the more talented team right now. Their talent also isn't going anywhere for the most part, as they have a lot of it locked up. And for the pieces that are leaving, like the Gallons, potentially the Kellys, or whoever else, you do feel like the D-backs are a team that's going to swap those pieces out for somebody else, right? We saw Christian Walker, our Gold Glove, power hitting first baseman, a guy who's played like an all-star the last few years. We were like, man, we're really going to let Christian Walker leave for nothing in free agency? What do the D-backs do? Go out there, trade for Josh Naylor. He's been fantastic. And so I don't think the Rays are going to do something like that. Even if they have a talented player leave via free agency or they trade him away, they're not going to just go out there and spend money and replace that production. The Rays still operate like a money ball team. I contend if you're not operating like Ken Kendrick, you should sell your team. What does that mean? You don't have to spend, if the Dodgers are spending $500 million, you don't have to spend $490. But if the Dodgers are taking 2/3 of their revenue and putting it back into their payroll, that's what you should do as a franchise, because that's what the D-backs are doing. They're matching the Dodgers in terms of percentage of their payroll going back, or percentage of their revenue going back into their payroll. And other franchises need to do that. The Rays never do that. They have been bottom 10 in payroll every year since making the World Series. D-backs were 21st in payroll when they went to the World Series. Then they jumped to number 10 the very season after. We know the Rays can build a playoff contender, but they do not seem so certain about building a sustainable World Series contender, or at least I'm not too certain that they could build a sustainable World Series contender. I believe in them in building a playoff contender, but in terms of building a team that can win it all, a team that can win it all for multiple seasons, the Rays don't seem like they have a team that can do that. Meanwhile, what Mike Hazen is building in the desert, I think potentially it can be here to stay. So for those reasons, give me the Arizona Diamondbacks future. Now we'll talk about Corbin Burnes and if he can step up in the D-backs pitching duel in segment number 3. But hey, I first want to talk to you guys about game time, because there's nothing better than catching an MLB game live, the crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, Ticket prices drop as game time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On and the Dbacks. So best believe I'm counting on Game Time to help me grab my tickets all season long. And I love buying my tickets last minute, especially for concerts, because I promise you that's when they're the absolute cheapest. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into your Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. All right, back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. And now let's discuss if Corbin Burnes can step up as the D-backs ace in a potential pitcher's duel. Because for Burnes, despite the back-to-back quality starts, I just have not been impressed. And I am still waiting for that start by Corbin Burnes when I sit back in my chair and I say, wow, I see why the D-backs made him the highest paid player in franchise history, and I just don't think we've seen that yet. Despite 6 innings, 2 earned runs in his most recent start, 6 innings, 3 earned runs in his start prior to that, I still don't think we've seen a great Corbin Burnes in 2025. You look at the numbers, he's still not fooling anyone with his pitches. The swing and miss stuff is greatly down in 2025. He's not racking up the strikeouts. You look at his cutter, which is his go-to pitch, and the numbers still say it's not super effective. Even in his most recent 2 starts where he had a quality start, the expected average, expected slug still hasn't been great on it. And overall on the year, a 306 average allowed on that cutter, a 639 slug allowed, 3 home runs. Like, it just needs to be better. And when it's your go-to pitch and it's not doing its job, it's tough to see. It's really tough to see because Burnes has been a cutter-dominant pitcher throughout his career. He's throwing it more than ever. Last year, he threw it 45% of the time. This year, he's throwing it 57% of the time. So maybe to help Corbin Burnes, he needs to scale the usage back because it has not been effective in 2025. And I want to see an elite Corbin Burnes because we paid this guy a lot of money. And so far, it has not been a great start to the season for him. Despite the numbers not being bad, it's not like he's been Madison Bumgarner or anything like that. But considering he's one of the highest paid players in Major League Baseball, I have expected a little bit more out of Corbin Burnes, and so far he has not delivered. And you could make the real argument has been the worst start to his career so far, or at least the last few years. I mean, career high contact percentage allowed so far. So opposing hitters are kind of teeing off, giving up a lot of contact, a lot of base hits. Lowest swinging strike rate of his career. What does that mean? These hitters are not swinging at Corbin Burnes pitches. If they do not think it's a clear strike, they will not swing outside the zone. They are not chasing his pitches. Like, this is what I'm saying in terms of the swing and miss stuff, the whiff stuff. Corbin Burns is just not getting it. When opposing batters are swinging, that means they are locked in on a Corbin Burns pitch, probably his cutter, which is not what you want to see. And also, the hard contact stats allowed so far for Corbin Burns, worst exit velocity of his career, worst hard hit percentage. And for a reminder, what is a hard hit percentage? The amount of balls with an average exit velocity of 95 or higher. And so Burns this year, not only is it the contact percentage overall, not just the contact percentage overall, the highest of his career, but the hard contact percentage as well. Not good. It's just not something you want to see. And the weird thing about Corbin Burns is he's starting slow in these outings. If you actually look at the numbers, each time through the order, he's actually getting better. It goes from like a 300 average allowed to like a 250 to like a 170. Like this guy's actually getting better the more times he gets to face an opposing batter, which is not something you typically see out of your starting pitcher. So we're going to need him to start a little bit earlier in this next outing because he's going to be in a pitching duel against the Tampa Bay Rays starter, Drew Rasmussen, who has been fantastic all season for the Rays. He's only allowed 2 earned runs all year. He's got around a 30% strikeout rate the last 2 years with a pretty good walk rate as well. And it's not just he's only allowed 2 earned runs. He's allowed 0 extra base hits all season long. 2/3 of the time, he's getting you either a cutter or a fastball. So it's a sequence very similar to Corbin Burns, but the difference is Drew has been very effective, borderline unhittable. The pitch you want to see is the sinker, which is his 3rd most used pitch. That's the only one that seems to be kind of vulnerable at all this year. The only player on this Dbacks team who even has a career hit against Rasmussen, mostly because of sample size, is Lourdes Gurriel. So in this game, more than any other one, we're going to be looking at Lourdes to hopefully carry this Dbacks offense step up in a big way because there's no one else with even a base hit, with even a single against Drew in his career. So Lourdes, after having a solid performance with 1 hit, I guess, in the most recent game against the Tampa Bay Rays. Let's hope he can keep it going and maybe provide some power for the D-backs in the finale against Tampa Bay. Now, that's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Doses.